Right, good evening. This is not a drill. This is the second podcast of the day. This is episode 33. Slightly different podcast because I'm joined again by my good friend, Andrew Pixel Hunter.
Good evening.
Good evening, mate. Good to see you. Well, not good to see you, but good to hear you, actually.
Oh, and as always, good to see you as well. Beautiful dressing gown. Impeccably coiffured quiff, as ever. I wouldn't actually come on the podcast if it wasn't for that anyway. So
it's the grey. I could see this afternoon the grey at the sides was terrible. But it looks not too bad under this light. And my hair needs cutting, so the quiff's got
as well. I can't believe you got a whole makeup crew in as well. It's
look at the lighting. It's just amazing.
Wonderful.
I look younger at night than I do in the daytime.
How have you been?
Yeah, good. Really good. Podcasting as always, grinding stuff out. I've got a couple of things that I'm up to on the side, so I'm hoping to announce them in the next week or so. See if that takes off. Obviously, you know about one of them, but I'm sworn to secrecy because of my other tag team.
It makes it more exciting to give it a big reveal, anyway, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was quite funny actually because when I was telling Steve-O before, he was pissing himself laughing off the live feed. He was just like, he goes, "Who the fuck do you think you are?" I said, "Some fucking superstar or something, like you're revealing something." I said, "No," I said, "It's just for getting everything in place."
It's like, no, Man United can't actually release the signing of this player, even though we know that he's signed, because they have to put all of the PR and marketing together as well before they actually announce the signing of him.
Exactly. That's very much the level of fan base that I'm going for.
There's going to be a small video of you playing piano and stuff like that. And
going chopstick. That's about as bad. Or if you've got the 3 keys, you can actually do, remember 2 Unlimited?
Oh, yeah.
You can actually go...
Mine was the Terminator theme tune. That's the one thing. That's the only one thing I could play on a piano as well. So.
That's quite impressive, that actually.
All right, so I'll show you one day, mate.
Yeah, good work, good work. So you've been up to yourself?
Just trying to get through a few games and TV and films as well. It's probably like you, mate. Always trying to play catch up to bring all the guys a little bit of news on what's new and what's actually good via everything from a game, film, and from a music format as well. I'm quite sort of pleased that there's quite a lot of receptiveness coming from me posting like my album of the week as well, and it's probably quite good. It's good for me as well because it keeps me up to date with music as well. I mean, I love trying to keep up to track with like any new albums that come out, and then it's easier then to look at gigs that are going to be coming up in Manchester as well. So yeah, no, it's good. It
got a lot of traction. Your music of the week. I always see obviously I'm always retweeting them like you do for mine and stuff. And
absolutely,
I always see the nice comments from people asking and saying. I saw one the other day saying, "Oh, about one of the music ones you'd put up." So it's quite interesting, especially with the film stuff because it's getting it aware with the groups that were sort of in that the private messaging. There's a lot of people asking the right questions for you, mate. So I'm dead pleased that it's sort of taking off as you've rebranded. You've not lost any traction really with the social media stuff.
So, but in terms of gaming, if we wanted to start off with that as well, can I just start from a gaming perspective with a personal gripe that feels like it's taken me way too many hours, and I finally feel like I've come to peace with it. I know that we've discussed it at length, but recently, or probably not recently actually, but I bought my new 4K HDR All Singing All Dancing LG TV, which is probably quite similar to your model.
Yeah.
I bought it in November. It was part of the Black Friday deal, so it was a really good price. I got like a free 2.0 HDMI cable with it as well. They did an update with the game mode, and it almost made it unbearably dark. And then with everything, like you just go down the rabbit hole of bloody Googling it, and then there's forums and there's petitions and everything like that. I mean, I don't feel too bad because there's people out there who've got like the OLED LG TVs that are worth thousands, and theirs is exactly the same. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of YouTube videos, and you can see the discernible difference in it. I understand, and maybe to explain to some of the people that are listening as well, one of the reasons that they've done it is because of this thing called input lag. And for probably anyone that plays Call of Duty or Battlefield, like you obviously play quite a lot of your first-person shooters, the big one for me on this is even playing like Everybody's Golf. Anything that relies on that sort of finite timing, if you were to play it when it's in 4K or HDR or whichever version of 4K that you've got, depending on the 4K TV that you've got, the difference from it being in standard and gaming mode is frightening. Like, I didn't think I would have noticed the difference. It obviously doesn't affect many games, but with Everybody's Golf that I was playing, and then obviously shooting games, especially if you're playing like PUBG or something like that, where it relies on it, you need that low input lag. So to try and find like a happy medium, and like we discussed, we were saying whether there was an update for the telly that you could get offline. And funnily enough, yesterday there was. It's not changed anything. It's not changed anything. So I'd contacted LG, and I'd spoke to them, and they basically said there's like a feature on there that says that is dynamic contrast, which you'll have an option for on yours. And they basically said to turn it on to high. I don't know. I feel like I just need to get over it now, and hopefully in a few months they might actually bring an update out, because I can't return the telly, and it is a lot darker. But then at the same time, the tone and everything like that looks fine. But I felt like after playing Monster Hunter World a little bit for a couple of hours, maybe my eyes were adjusting to it as well. I mean, at the same time, you don't want it on like sort of like the color pop, like vivid mode where it's just too much. Everything looks like a Nickelodeon cartoon. But at the same time, you want it to have that kind of bright, deep colors. So,
well, that's what you're paying for, aren't you?
Yeah. I mean, I know I've got one of the relatively cheaper TVs, but you're saying that you're probably not experiencing the same thing as me.
Yeah, we talked about it at length this week, and I felt your frustration because I got I'd sent you the thing. I think it was like the UH668V or something. I got it Christmas time 2016, so it's about 14 months old. Either side of 2017, and Sam had bought it me as a birthday present. And I know we spoke about this week. Apologies for going over it again, but I had the same problem when it come out. The TV, like in 4K, was great. I had the PS4 Pro. The picture was phenomenal, because obviously the Xbox One S had come out, which I upgraded and got the S, but it was only on like Gears of War and things like that where you saw that sort of HDR, and Forza, there was the HDR, but all other games were just normal standard, 900p or whatever, because obviously the Xbox One was pretty crap memory inside.
Yeah,
but I did see a noticeable difference. But as I was playing, obviously as a big Gears of War and Battlefield fan, like you said, I just couldn't understand the logic, because the input lag was horrendous. And with Sam buying it, mate, I was thinking, there ain't no way I can send this back. And I think we went halves on it. It was about £600, and I swear by LG. I've got LG sound playing, amazing. It's better than me. I've got an LG sound bar as well in my room, but I've got a sound play in my living room, and it's just like the cinema. Everyone comes around and says, "But it's just phenomenal. The sound, it's unbelievable." So I swear by them. But the input lag, like you were having, and when you told me, I'd had to go down the route of actually going on the website, because there was that many complaints about no gaming mode. And the only way I could get a tune out of it when I wasn't getting input lag was to take the HDR off, which sort of was counterproductive for all this money I'd spent.
I was going to say it negates the point of actually getting a 4K telly, really, doesn't it?
Exactly. So when you were saying it, I was trying my hardest to help, hoping that it was a simple solution, but it sounds like it's LG's end, and obviously not Sony's or anything like that. So I just hope you get it sorted, because it was an absolute ball ache, and knowing even no matter whether you got a low end or high end, whatever, you're still paying as a customer.
Yeah,
it shouldn't be an issue. So I just,
fingers crossed. I mean, it's all right in certain games where you can change it back to standard mode and you're not really relying on the input lag as such. Something like Monster Hunter doesn't necessarily rely on you to be that finite with your controls. But then, like I say, maybe something like FIFA and Everybody's Golf that maybe does rely on that timing element. It's just a very, very noticeable difference as well. I mean, the fix that a couple of people suggested is all right, but it's still, you shouldn't be having to do a workaround to get the best performance out of your TV. It's funny because I was speaking to one of the guys at Richer Sounds, because I'm actually going to pop in there at the weekend and get a new soundbar. And he was saying the same thing. Had an LG TV, isn't really that happy with it because of it, but then he says at the same time, like the input lag is perfect on it as well. he said the worst thing for him is he stands in a store all day and he can see those really nice Sony Bravia 4K tellies just like an absolute dream. And he just thinks a bastard. But no, I mean, they were really helpful as well. So, I mean, they just said that he would have thought that maybe in a few weeks because they're really good at bringing out updates. So maybe in a few weeks' time, they might do something about it. No,
my fingers crossed. I know to a lot of people, it's like, you know, you've got a 4K telly. Some people haven't, but it's not the point. I totally agree from a gadget and gamer geek like myself, and like obviously yourself as well, TV, film, everything. It has a reflection. The last thing you want to be doing is watching a film, and you can watch it in 4K or HDR, and then you've got to switch it then.
Do you know what I mean?
You still have to do that.
No, I mean, it's frustrating because like everything upscales on the Virgin box now as well because we've got the new Virgin TV box. So even the HD stuff looks great. You know,
exactly. You'd be daft not to use the telly to its full sort of potential sort of thing. But quite a good segue. I'm going to lead into this. I'm getting better at this.
I like it.
As you were saying regarding you shouldn't have to work round messing about with something to get a tune out of it. Let's talk about Pro Evo. I mean, I talked about it briefly before, or FIFA, and I would rather you talk about it because people are probably like, well, you've already talked about it this afternoon, Chris. So I only had a brief thing about the data pack, but I just wondered if there's your thoughts on the new data pack and how you're doing with FIFA.
Well, as we were mentioning before, and I'll talk about it briefly, because I was yearning some annualized bloody football game in my life. I think me and my mates were at the pub the other day, and we were, you know, because we're obviously older and we've got families and stuff like that now. We almost have to book ourselves in about 6 months in advance just to have a pint with each other as well. So we're on our way back to our friend's house and we're like, it's great that we're going to play I think we were playing WWE at that point, but we really need a football game. And in the end, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to bite the bullet. I can't touch PES for a single second. So I just picked up FIFA and we've just been playing. And let's actually be honest, and I know that you don't play against the computer that much, it still isn't without its frustrations. But just in terms of the presentation and the career mode itself on its own, I mean, I would say just in that alone, it is still light years ahead of where PES needs to be, regardless of the gameplay as well. So now that they're here, I don't know, it feels like a weird echo down a well somewhere that someone's trying to shout and says, I'm still relevant, where everyone's like, it's just a superficial data pack where you're going to update people's faces and you're going to release some dirty scousers as your legend footballers, but nobody's playing it anymore. So why bother? I mean, at what point do they just drop it and just say, look, okay, we're going to start making an actual competent football game as well? Where FIFA, they're patching it all the time. I know people still aren't happy with it as well. But you know what? There was 3 or 4 of us sat at my mate's house the other day, and we could still understand the frustrations, but we still had some relatively fun element out of it as well. Even with the small elements of immersion that's in it from... we won we were playing as Derby, and we won the league. But we won the league when we were away to somebody, and there were still 3 or 4 games to go. Excuse me. And the commentator says, well, they need to wait until the home game on the final game of the season before they receive the trophy. Yeah, we're like, that's amazing. So we actually waited and we played that last game, and then you get the full official trophy presentation with the EFL trophy. Just that's little things like that. It's lovely.
Yeah, that's bang on that. And I don't play it offline, so I've never experienced stuff like that. But for someone like yourself who's transitioned, even if it's a temporary thing over to FIFA, it makes a big difference. And in the past, the superficial stuff was never an issue because you always knew that the gameplay was hollow. Yeah. And that's where obviously PES trumped it because all its faults, PES commentary, license, problems with the licenses or whatever, it never was a problem. But then when FIFA overtook it, it was like, well, I want a bit of this superficial stuff now. I want it to look like a real, especially with the way the screen, like you were just saying about your 4K telly. It's just a natural progression.
It looks amazing. Yeah, honestly,
He does.
amazing. Little snippets of like how many goals your striker scored that season as well. If you sign somebody, the little player profile they do of where they've gone, and just little things like that that add to it because they want it to kind of replicate Sky Sports, really, don't they? So
yeah, immersion's there.
I just so for me, it's like I say, it just feels like a distant voice somewhere in the background trying to make themselves get a few retweets and stuff like that as well. But I mean, I won't touch it again as well, and it's going to have to go some way to improve itself for the next iteration, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, it was. Sorry,
no, go on. On you go.
No, sorry. I was just going to say the podcast I did on Sunday with Dave, my friend.
Yeah,
and he said from someone like me and you are probably classed as hardcore PES fans who have an understanding of the issues with the social media side of things and the forums. You heard about the forums from me probably more than visit them, but you understand the frustrations of the fans, should I say, with social media, or the you know, like it's there, the presence and the sort of, it's not hatred, but the issues. We all know what they are. You know, we've gone on about them enough times on this podcast. But when you sort of move over to FIFA, and this is where Dave come from, we did like a timeline of his gaming sort of life as such, and he said like ISS will always go down on the PS1 as the best footy game he's ever played, and in fact the best game he's ever played because it means so much to him. And he said PES 5 and 6, and he isn't a hardcore fan like I am and you are. He's, you know, bought every iteration going and, you know, been there on day one, flying the flag for Pro Evo, and he just said, I just play FIFA now. And I'm like, he said, I just play it and that's it, you know, because it's where the best, for the casual fan, that's what it is. You know, there's no, and like I said in the podcast, me and you, like I'm 40 this year, you're 36. It's like,
thanks, mate. You just took 12 months off my existence.
Cheers, mate. You're not 36, you're all right. But yeah, but no, as we are, you know, sort of mid to late 30s, both of us, it's like we're the fans who were supporting it when we were in our 20s. Yeah. So there's no kid there's going to be very few kids who are say 12 and 13 are going to remember any of the classic Pro Evos. All they remember is FIFA. Pro Evo's nothing to the young ones. My Jordan, I rave about Pro Evo. I've got every single copy of Pro Evo in like a little collection there. Boxes, steel, you know, steel box ones, United steel box for PES 13 and all that stuff. She'll touch it with me and play it, and like, you know, she'll have a couple of games on the old stuff, but that's about it. She's like, it's not even as good as FIFA, this dad. You know, and they don't understand that. So coming from where you are and then listening to what Dave has said, it's like, and I said it earlier on the other podcast, all you've got to do, whether people think that me, you, Steve, or whatever are being negative towards that game, is go on the social media, ignore the dickheads who just put total ridiculous and racial slurs. Yeah, it's uncalled for that. It's a fucking computer game. But just read the actual constructive stuff underneath and forget the bullshit, 'cause you've got to sift through a bit of it. And it's just basically like listening to this podcast at times, you know, and people might agree. I know we've gone off on a PES tangent again. How we're getting away with this after 33 episodes?
Podcast as well, mate. I mean, because I would, obviously,
yeah. How we're getting away with it after 33 episodes, I don't know. But anyway, I'll draw a line under that.
Yeah, but I mean, the one aspect that we were trying to discuss recently was this being locked into kind of an annualized release. And if they have such a small team, are they always going to be tied in because it's a football game to have to release it at the start of every season? Or would it almost be beneficial to them to be able to wait? Or does it take away that? Because this is coming off like the news that a couple of weeks ago. And to be honest, it's probably good news rather than disappointing news. As much as initially you would have been disappointed, but Red Dead Redemption 2 has been delayed as well. But for me, you know, it's been delayed until next year. It's not a bad thing, really. It's been delayed till later on in the year, actually, hasn't it? It's been delayed until October. I would rather be in a company that has that. I mean, I know not everyone is going to be, but even if you're in a small company, I couldn't think of anything worse of having a great idea and then actually being forced into producing something that isn't my own. You know, like writing a screenplay for something and then a producer coming down and said, yeah, but what if all of the characters were cats? I'd be like, sorry, what? Yeah. So, you know, it's almost being like, well, the football season is about to start, so you actually need to release your game. Well, it's not ready. Well, tough shit. oh, you can patch it 8 times. No, but the core game in itself isn't ready. Don't worry, we'll just bring out DLC. And it's like, I mean, go back to things like all of the Arkham games as well. You know, they had free reign to be able, and they were delayed umpteen times as well. And what have we got there? We've got 3 of the greatest games that were on that generation of consoles, really. And I have no doubt that the delay in Red Dead Redemption 2 will give us both an incredible single player and probably a brilliant multiplayer experience.
Yeah, I agree. And I think as well, you're looking at like stuff like Grand Theft Auto. Yes, I understand an annualized game with a smaller sales window than what you would with GTA. And that obviously GTA 5 is probably, I think it's just behind Minecraft as the best selling game ever. Yeah. Obviously, Minecraft has just gazumped it tenfold as such, but in a ratio to other games, it's GTA 5 is still within the top 20 games in any country pretty much. So they're on, in that respect, yes, it's a different audience, a totally different game. Obviously, it's a sandbox game, but it transcends, you're right, it transcends across gaming. And like FIFA will always be in the top 20 of any chart until maybe a month before the next one comes out, because once the demo comes out, it starts dropping off because people just play the demo to death, and then you go from the demo straight into the full game, or the EA Access thing comes out on Xbox, and then the numbers start gathering pace. So it's like there's just something, and I couldn't say I could ever change what they're doing or whatever. I don't know. I don't know the answer because obviously I don't know what the ingredients are in this thing. But just as a fan looking from the outside in, I just bang my head and think I just don't get your logic.
No, so to be able to turn around what they've produced in 1 year, I don't understand. Yeah, but for me, October time comes around, Red Dead Redemption comes out, doesn't really matter. I mean, that wouldn't really. So
amazing, amazing.
Any other like? There's been small sort of news on the PS4 front as well. You've got a PS4 yourself, haven't you? There's a strange little introduction that has come out, and I was following this news story. Is that they've released, if you set the function right as well, that even if you haven't paid for a game, or you haven't owned the game on disc, what PlayStation will do now is, if you enable featured content, it will auto download a game and then suggest you would potentially buy it, and it's already ready to play. I don't know whether that's a bit sneaky or not. I don't know whether that's my cynical brain thinking. I understand that you can do that for me while I'm not here, but it's like, hey, Shadow of Colossus, we've just downloaded it for you. So if you want to buy it, then I'm like,
it's a bit strange. I've not heard that, Scott.
It's just very recently as well. I don't know. It seems like a little bit of an underhanded thing, really, just to say we've done you the, because surely if you have decent sort of fiber optic broadband, between 50 or 100 meg, if you were going to download the game anyway, and sort of heaven forbid that you would, and you would pay like 60 quid for a game, Jesus Christ, that you wouldn't be waiting that long to do it anyway, really. It just seems a bit sneaky. Hey, I know that you've just been watching Netflix, but we've just downloaded Shadow of the Colossus. No, I'm all right, thanks. I'm fine.
Well, saying that, I tell you what, actually, something quite similar has just happened on the PlayStation, and it pisses me right off with the PlayStation, because at the moment I'm predominantly 90-10 split in Xbox's favour, and I've always been around about 70-30, split in playtime. But now it's like 90-10 at the moment.
Wow.
And one thing they keep doing...
Can't imagine what game that would be referring to either, but carry on.
No. Minecraft. But I take off every 3 months. I take off the auto renewal on my PSN, because sometimes if it's, I might not touch the PlayStation sometimes for a week or something. So I think, well, I'm not paying like 20 quid now for 3 months when I might not use it for a week or 2 weeks. So then when I am going to use it, I'll go, right, I'll just pay for it outright, and there you go.
Yeah.
And I've got renewed again yesterday, 20 quid. And I'm like, you robbing bastards. And I know full well the last year, every time I go onto my PSN account on my laptop and just put auto renewal and just do not tick it, and it's still fucking there's some glitch somewhere. I don't know whether it's when
you're still renewing it for you.
Yeah, and it pisses me off. And it's like I'm not saying, because obviously I've talked about that Crash Bandicoot thing. I've got to play it because I want to stream and stuff. But I'm just like, I don't want you having the choice. And it's not me moaning for moaning's sake. I'm just like, you absolute fucking black merchants. You know, what's the point in having auto renewal?
Or even
set?
a tick box if it's just automatically.
Exactly. What they should be is you should get an email saying we're about to auto renew your membership. Are you happy to proceed? Yes or no, and that's it. And I go yes, or I go no, and then it's my choice. But I'm like, you absolute fucking wind up merchant. So it's all pissed me off a little bit because it does that all the time, and especially it's gone up a $5 and you're not getting any better content really.
Usually, again, with everything that I do or buy around PlayStation games, or the renewal for that as well, I'm constantly checking hot UK deals just for the cheapest one as well. That's usually the greatest source or the best reference for anything like that as well. Yeah, so there was that. And as much as I know that PlayStation Store usually has 1,000,001 different sales offers at the moment, they've actually got a really good one where some of the digital games are concerned, and one in particular, because I know it's just about to get a sequel. But Super Mega Baseball, if I am correct in thinking, is about £3.50 at the moment, and that's one of the ones that I'd actually played on the Xbox One when I had it.
You good?
It's an incredible. I mean, for me, that I wouldn't. I've been to watch live baseball before, but I wouldn't watch it on telly or anything like that. And then any of the sort of really complex, like the MLB, the show and stuff like that I know are really popular in America, I just wouldn't have the time for it. But this is just a perfect balance in between like sort of arcadey and brilliant sort of couch co-op as well. So you can play up to 4 players as well, like 2 versus 2, or you could have all 4 of you on the same team as well. It's just like really sort of cartoony. All of the characters look like Wii characters,
right, yeah.
But they all have sort of different attributes as well. So obviously some are good at home runs, others are better at pitching, some are good at fielding and stuff like that, or some are really fast runners. It's just a nice little balance. And I think, it was probably about 15, 20 quid when it came out at the time. So for £3.50, I know there's going to be a new release in the spring, but if you're struggling for something to buy, and there's a couple of other good games on there that are between literally 2 and 4 quid, so literally nothing at all. Me and my friends just bought a few of the games the other day just because we were a bit bored. But yeah, Super Mega Baseball's a really good shout.
For £3.50 though, you can't argue with that, can you?
Yeah, you'd be paying more for a pint round where I live anyway. So
hey, Amston's not far behind you now.
Yeah, I know, unbelievable. I think so. It was saying on top, I know this is London prices as well, but I think Ali McCoyster, something like that, was talking to a guy on TalkSpot and saying it was like $6.50 for a pint where they live, and it was like,
that is ridiculous.
Unbelievable.
That is fucking ridiculous.
Any of the other PlayStation news that we got at the moment, or just in general gaming news? I know there's deals on PlayStation VR at the moment as well. And without going into a too big a segue, I know that I'd mentioned it through social media, and I know some of the guys are going this weekend as well. But we actually got like the largest contingent ever went to the arcade club in Bury last weekend as well. And I'd never been to the more modern floor. So for anyone who's listening, the arcade club in Bury is like this big sort of arcade place in a warehouse in just outside of, it's not far out of Bury city centre basically. And they have like a retro gaming floor with probably about 50 arcade consoles in, from anything from like the early 80s, late 70s, right the way up to like, I think the most modern console arcade machine they've got in there is Outrun 2. But in the first floor, when you go in, they have modern stuff. So they've got like a big projector on the back wall, and they've got like split screen Mario Kart on the Switch. They have all the sort of relatively modern rhythm-based Japanese arcade games, and I think a bank of about 20 PCs, and there was loads of people playing PUBG or Overwatch and stuff like that. But they've got 4 separate VR units. I don't know, have you been before?
No, I've never ever been, no.
It's absolutely incredible. So you can pay a tenner to go on either floor, or you can pay £15 to go on both. So because we knew we were going to be there for the majority of the day, we were there from like about 11 till 4. We paid for both. And me and my friend had a go on one of the VRs for Project Cars 2. So it's basically a high-end PC. in a racing chair with a force feedback steering wheel and pedals. I've never. I was very nauseous actually afterwards. I couldn't even eat my lunch for a bit actually, but I've never experienced anything like that. Honestly, it was
phenomenal.
It's incredible, mate. I mean, I've not got the money for it. Obviously, I was asking the guy afterwards, and he said it's like $6,000 if you want all of that as well. But to have the opportunity to play it, and obviously shout out to the Arcade Club guys as well, because it's not just a great place full of great people, but they look after the kit as well. Honestly, it's just immaculate from top to top, and the food's great, and the beer's great as well. So,
no, it's a good day, then, isn't it? How did you get there? Did you drive or?
Yeah, so we'd organised going in 3 separate cars as well, and to be honest, it's not that bad. I mean, I could just have a beer while I was there as well, but you could potentially from like Manchester city centre just get the tram out to Bury, and then it's probably like a sort of 15-minute walk or a 5-minute taxi from there. Really, it's definitely £15, and every game is free after that as well. So
also, even the arcade machines are free.
They're all free. Every single one of them is free. You don't need to pay any other money. So no,
£15. I'd be paying that all day long. I wouldn't even argue over that.
Yeah,
really good. The only thing I wanted to bring up was sorry, Andrew. Was
go ahead.
Xbox have just done an app update today. So the the iOS, something I bloody getting quality control at work. The iOS and the Android Xbox apps now have got a thing where what you can do via your phone, you can actually go onto Xbox Live and join parties with your friend, even if you haven't got your console on. So it's a great feature. So you can, if they're all playing a game, I could just, like I was doing it before, testing it out, but me for some reason, my daughter and nephew, if they're watching, I'm giving them a dirty look now. They decided to go, fuck you, I'm not coming in the chat. But I wanted to see what it was like, but I could see on my phone, because we had the telly on, me and Sam, you could see the mic going. So it was obviously picking it up, but I didn't see anybody coming, but they're all raving about it, saying it's like
I thought that in terms of just being in touch, because I think I was saying to you about like us obviously growing up and maybe some of us not in the same area of Manchester anymore as well, is that would be a great element even if someone just had it on the phone.
Yeah.
Or would just not necessarily playing the same game, but they could join in the group chat as well. Because I was thinking that, when you're doing streaming to a certain degree, part of it could be a podcast depending on what you're talking about as well. And you don't all in the group necessarily need to be playing the same game, really. So that's a great shout.
Yeah, well, to be honest, on Mixer, you can co-stream and you can include all your audio chat. And to be fair, what you've just said is an idea that I've been toying with, but I don't know how distracted I'd be playing the game and then trying to compose to do a podcast. Do you know what I mean? I was thinking that.
You probably need to scale back your topics, wouldn't you? I think. I think if you keep it either necessarily on the game and talking in and around the game that you were playing, but then if you wanted to do any news, I mean, it'd be kind of funny for anyone who was watching it because, you've got that double up of people, because ultimately it's a podcast, isn't it? So people are going to be listening to it, whether they're at work or they're driving somewhere or anything like that. But realistically, you add that visual element into it as well, and it's on YouTube. I mean, it works both ways, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that could work. I mean, maybe it's something I do try next time, because I was going to try it, and obviously, but as you know, we keep saying it, but me and Brad are always playing on PUBG as a team. So me and him have toyed with the idea that now we've got all the streaming stuff set up, and by co-streaming it, if it's on my page or my stream, if I co-stream and invite him in, it'll show both of us sort of playing the game in like a box, and then you can talk and stuff, and his audio can be included. So
that's what I used to do with the YouTube streaming as well, which thankfully I'm probably going to get back around to playing now that I can kind of understand how Monster Hunter World works. Good God. Is that you would include the comments on it as well. I usually take them off the screen when I was streaming for YouTube, so that when it comes to like video playback afterwards, it's not really getting in the way of anything like that. But I would always have a tablet or my phone next to me, and I would be looking at the comments coming through, and then I would answer them. I would obviously tell the audience who it was who was asking the question, and I was usually playing Pez at the time, and then recite their question and answer it while I was on the live stream as well. So then if anyone was actually looking back on it, it made sense to them rather than me just directly answering the question as well. He's sort of building it around it. So that's maybe another element. If you're streaming and you're giving people the option to comment on your streams, it adds to that level of interaction, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I think as well, it gives the audience something to visually see as well, other than just seeing over the back of my shoulder that, a lot of people I keep asking what that says behind me because it's reversed, but that logo, because I'm always in the same position in my kitchen. So it's an interesting idea that I've been toying with. But
I think it works. I think if you scale down and you don't put too much pressure on sort of giving yourself too many topics to cover like you would in a normal podcast, I think it works because people would join in for the sort of rapport that you would have with whoever you were streaming with, really.
Yeah, I think the only thing we struggled with is me and Steve-O did do a podcast together while we played Gears of War. But what we found was you could hear every button press. Now that, to be fair, was using Skype, and that was also using the output of the mic on my laptop because at the time I wasn't using Google Hangouts. That wouldn't be an issue with Google Hangouts. So sort of answering my own question there, but you're right. I could get away with playing
closed up mic headset, basically what you've got on now, and that's the problem we had, because what I was trying to do when we were streaming originally was have my Blue Yeti microphone connected to my PS4, but all that was doing was getting all of the feedback from the external sound. And as much as it was weird from a social standpoint that we would all be sat around streaming, it's probably kind of funny actually, but we're all sat there with all separate headsets on, but we would just have the singular ones. So we'd just have the headset on the left and just the head clip and the microphone. It works beautifully. So if you had the same thing with everyone else, whether they were in your house or just around, for me, that was one of the more interesting elements, is having that engagement. So maybe not playing a game that required that much sort of concentration, but you were able to sort of dip in and out at the same time, really.
Well, so much just come up actually as we're doing this, so it's pretty good for the podcast, Andrew, is there's a VR soccer game, or football, I hate calling it soccer, but I know it's Pro Evo soccer, called a VR called Cherry Pop Games, and it's a VR soccer. It says 90 frames per second gameplay. There's a trailer here. I won't play the trailer. Well, in fact, I'll play this trailer, but I'll turn the volume down. But just to sort of see what it's about, I presume you're going to have to kick and... I don't even know what console it's on. I'm just sort of watching it now. But that is like the next evolution of VR, is what you were saying.
Mate, honestly, I have never felt anything.
It looks a bit like sociable soccer, to be honest. Or virtual reality football club, it's called.
Yeah, I've never felt
like a five-a-side type game.
The sensation of actually playing that Project Cars 2 on VR. I've never felt anything like that in my life. And it was on the Spa Grand Prix circuit as well.
Yeah.
Was it? Eau Rouge, the big sweeping corner. You imagine how that feels in VR, going up there at about 180 miles an hour. Mate, honestly, you feel like you're losing your lunch. It's incredible.
It's amazing. I think it's an evolution. Well, I still say the VR looks great, but it's a bit of a party gimmick, I think, at the moment.
I would never, ever, ever be in a position where on a Tuesday night I'll be sat in the living room with my VR headset on and my fucking PlayStation glow sticks as well. Like, I don't know. That's the... I know exactly. I need to see the outside world. I need to know that it's just a game and that I'm not losing it. It feels like an episode of Black Mirror then, I think.
Yeah. No, I agree. Sorry, I went off on one. I just flashed up then. As was...
Right. It's good. So what does it look? Does it look any good, do you think? Or...
No, it looks like a Wii game, but five-a-side based. They're not as sprightly as like the Wii, as you were saying before about that baseball game. They do look like it's hard to describe. It looks like a five-a-side game because there's buildings around the pitch and stuff. But the characters are like, you can't see the legs, but you can see the bodies and the hands, but you can't see I know it's so stupid, the knees and legs.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's weird. It's obviously to do with the VR side of it. You'll have to have a look at the trailer when it's finished. Have a quick look. You just go up on that M4G. I go on for like all the gaming news.
Same here. I was going to say shout out to those guys as well, because they're really good for any up-to-date gaming news as well. Yeah,
I go on that every single day. So is that done for gaming, that, mate?
I think the only other thing that I wanted to talk on quickly is that Kingdom Come Deliverance.
Oh yeah,
In terms of, I mean, it looked like a sort of beautifully sort of medieval Skyrim-esque game, but
yeah,
sort of very, very realistic in terms of like almost like needlessly accurate historically, and sort of matching everything up from the medieval era, whilst being really detailed in terms of the survival and sort of attritional element of being able to keep your guy alive. Now,
yeah,
I think if you'd have played Skyrim, the one thing is that it still has that kind of in-depth feel, but it doesn't necessarily feel attritional in terms of you need to sleep all the time, you need to be fed, and you need to eat the right food, and and you need to drink and stuff like that. I think that's kind of removing itself from the element of gaming to a certain extent, and it just becomes more of a sort of chore than it does playing a game. I really liked the sort of concept where you would have real-time missions, and once you'd accepted a mission, there would be certain things that would be playing out that were out of your control, and if you didn't intercept them at the right time, you would just fail the mission without acting.
yeah,
So, I mean, that kind of element was beautiful. I like that sort of thing, rather than just sort of building up a stockpile of submissions and thinking, I'll just do them when I want. So that sort of real-time element was kind of nice. But I think the thing that it's probably suffering from at the moment, where the reviews are concerned, is that they're probably taking the hats off to how realistic they want it. But then the argument is, and there's a really good video, I think it was probably last week's Outside Xbox, their show of the week, and they were just saying that it's very hard to sort of endorse something like that within a video game and be able to sort of play it consistently. I don't know. You'll probably see a lot of streamers playing it and be able to sort of discuss that with the followers and stuff like that. But whether I would be able to invest sort of, I don't know, up to 60 or 70 hours within the game or something like that, I don't know really. Because at the end of the day, it's a video game. And I just think you don't really want all of those elements in it, or at least I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. That's life, isn't it? We've said this loads of times. When are you going to get the time to dedicate that and do it justice as well?
Yeah.
As a gamer.
Yeah, so because like, the exploration elements of sort of Skyrim and Fallout were the most beautiful things about it as well, because then all of the stuff around keeping your player alive and getting armor and stuff like that wasn't necessarily that intricate.
Yeah.
Or it was at least understandable as well. So yeah, Kingdom Come Deliverance. So probably at the moment, understandably, it's scoring on the PS4 63 out of 100 from the 7 reviews that it's got. So not necessarily something to base it on, but it's kind of showing where it's going to land really before its release on Friday. Obviously, we talked about the fact that I played FIFA 18 as well, so I'll probably continue doing that maybe until the World Cup game comes out.
Yeah.
The other thing that was playing at the moment is Monster Hunter World. It's a beautiful game, mate. It's an absolutely beautiful game. It's very hard in terms of and I know we were speaking before we went live about the sort of westernized element of tutorials when you go into a game, is that there'll be a certain element that you need to learn within a game, and it will almost give you a small mission around it in order to get you to learn it, whether it's crafting or being able to get items that you need for certain things. Whereas it felt like in this, sometimes the tutorial was a small novel. So even if you were playing multiplayer, you were like, oh, sorry, mate, I've just got to read 3 pages of text before I get on, or like other elements that weren't necessarily described. But like, this isn't to the detriment of the game at all, because the game is so in-depth and so intricate and so beautiful. It's one that I can imagine I've kind of knocked most other games that I've been playing on the head. So at the moment, I'm basically just playing FIFA and Monster Hunter World as well. And as we discussed, now that I feel like I'm at a level where we've got around the multiplayer issues, and we can actually get online and play with a couple of people, because there's some teething problems around that, unfortunately. And B, we actually know what we're doing, because I can't imagine like an hour or a 2-hour stream where I'm just fumbling around the menus or looking at tutorials would be anywhere near interested. But there's so many beautiful elements to that game as well, so hopefully I'll be able to stream that with a couple of guys soon.
Yeah, good stuff. No, good stuff. I think streaming-wise, everyone knows what I'm playing, so I'm not going to bore everyone with that.
What is it that you're... just out of interest, that's all?
No, it's a bit like a survival game.
Okay.
Where you get dropped into a map, but yeah, you've probably not heard of it, so I won't go into it.
You're doing really well. You're doing, yeah. And then just a very quick mention to the 2 free PlayStation Network games for everyone who's got PlayStation Plus, Rhyme and Knack. I think quite a lot of people will know Knack just because of some of the negative reviews that he actually received. Mate, it's nowhere near as bad as some of the reviews have suggested. It's just,
is that right?
Yeah. Whether I would play it to its end is questionable, but I obviously wanted to play them both for the sake of this podcast as well. Rhyme kind of reminds me of the way that Journey is, if you know Journey.
Yeah, I know Journey, yeah.
Just that kind of strip back. You've got no HUD, so you don't know whether you've got a health bar or anything like that. And you've just got to follow the natural elements within in the game. And this is like Rhyme. You're just some kid who gets washed up on a beach on this beautiful island. And then there are sort of lights that guide you towards like all of these different totems that you've got to unlock. And then there's just quite a lot of puzzle elements as well. It feels to me it's probably not going to be that long.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at it on how long to beat at the moment, but I am actually going to do that now because I'm really anal as well. How long to beat Rhyme. Okay. And I'm going to go for about sort of 2 and a bit hours, maybe 3 hours as well. Oh, 5.5 hours. I
just said 6.
6. You're right. Old styles, it would take 6 hours to complete. So you are absolutely on the money there as well. Well played.
Only guessing because that's what they say the sweet spot is now for people's attention spans when it comes to campaigns because they all want to go online.
I mean, has it got anything for sort of young parents as well? I don't know. It's about 30 bloody minutes, isn't it? Jesus Christ! But no, it's a lovely game. Beautiful soundtrack, looks beautiful as well. So yeah, for anyone who's got them, I mean, if you were to choose over the two, I would definitely say Rhyme as well because it's got a really nice sort of puzzle element to it as well. And in terms of gaming, mate, that is me.
Yeah, me too, mate. So what we're on next, TV or film?
You choose, pal. Up to you. I don't know.
Well,
what have you been
I'll start off with TV. Sorry, I know you because I am obviously a reality TV whore, and I will get into a series, but I like to watch it all in one go because we've stacked up about 3 episodes of McMafia, the last 3 episodes. So we're going to watch that this weekend. But let's talk about what I've been watching before you go on to the proper stuff, and will get my 30-second segment out of the way because I've written some stuff down. I've been watching the new TV show on ITV, which is made by the producers of Love Island, and it's set in Africa, and it's a load of all the blokes are on steroids and growth hormones up to the gills, and even some of the girls are as well. There's a couple of square-jawed women on there, which just you can tell one of them's been a bodybuilder in a time. She's actually from Manchester,
right?
And it's survival of the fittest. It's called, and basically it's just Love Island, but the tasks they do, these boys against girls at the minute. So it's the same take, the same sort of setup as Love Island. They're in this big villa type thing, but it's in Africa. So I'm not feeling it as much as I thought I would because I thought it was going to be like Love Island, which I've loved. I'm sorry.
Just because of the characters or the people that are in it, or just because of the itself?
I think I've said it before because I've done a little bit in that industry with the extra stuff and that. It's hard now not to spot where people have been well groomed and sort of been represented and told what to say or what to do. Like you can already see there's a guy there touting himself to be like a bit of a bit of a chance and a bit of a sort of shit stirrer, but like a bit of a love rat already. So it's like it's that character they all seem to resonate. Someone's always the nice guy or the nice girl, and so. I don't know whether it's just me. So I've been watching that nonsense this week on ITV, and then
do you think you continue watching that as well, or?
Oh no, I watch every episode. Don't worry about it.
Oh, wonderful!
I watch that to the death. Don't you worry.
I think that's always funny with anything like that is that you're very aware of the kind of trash element of it as well, aren't you? But you can still find so many elements of it entertaining. But it's probably more about the sort of study of the people that go on it than anything else, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And like I've gone from that. One thing I've been watching for weeks now, and it's just not the same. I don't know if you ever watched it. Did you ever watch Coach Trip?
I definitely know of it, mate. I mean, I've probably watched because it was maybe on in the afternoons or something like that. Yeah. So is there a new series of that?
Well, what's happened is the old series originally were like a load of varying age groups from like, 16 up to bloody 70 or whatever or older. And you get like couples coming on who are in the 60s and that. And then you get a couple of young people, mother and daughter, son and father or whatever. And it'd be like, and it was a varying age bracket. So that ended up causing a lot of real life friction, and like they'd go to places where they'd be like, plucking feathers off a chicken because the budget was just like absolutely scandalous, just like going to a bloody, I don't know, a load of trees and picking apples off it. Whereas now you can tell, like, obviously the budget's gone up, and what they did was they rested it for about 18 months and then put it on E4. And Brendan's still on it, the presenter, the camp presenter, who's great. But it's now all young ones. And then, like, the ones who've been on it have been on other things. And I said to Sam, you can tell these are all part of, and then these ones, it's come out.
These amateur actors in a way, really.
Yeah, it's just like, it's so premeditated. And then they're having these little stupid conversations now, like they do in Towie, where all of a sudden the camera pans to 4 people who were just sat in a snug somewhere or sat on like a ledge in a field, and it's like, how did you think it went today? And it's like, that was never what Coke Street was about. It was about the authentic sort of take. They filmed it in one take, whether someone fell over or someone did something. That was like the real element, and now it's just ruined it. So we're like, I'm sat there grinding myself through it. It's like doing these, when I say I'm grinding podcasts out, I mean, I enjoy doing the podcast and watching that every night for half an hour, thinking this is just garbage. So I'm on.
I know what you mean, but so it's unfortunate, isn't it, that what has made it successful in terms of the relatively natural elements, even if they were sort of directed in a way, with the actual real people, rather than bringing somebody on who have had previous experience in reality TV shows in order to sort of reiterate a format rather than just sticking with what they've got.
Yeah, and it's like a friend at work, his wife's niece, I don't know if you've ever seen her. There's a girl called Chanel who's from Manchester, on Big Brother.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And she was, I know all sorts about that Big Brother thing. She's supposed to be, she was on the normal Big Brother, not the celebrity one. She'd been on like a couple of these programs like X on the Beach and that we watched on MTV and stuff. And it's all the same thing where they come on, they come to somewhere. I went out with this guy, and it's like they never went out with him. It's all like, they must have met him once at a party or something. And it's like they went out with him and they make a big story. And she went on Big Brother and she was a nightmare. But what she was getting paid to go on Big Brother, and she's got so much work done after it, it's all just bullshit. So it's that sort of premeditated stuff, I think, now that's coming into these reality stuff that sort of ruined it.
It's like a new layer of cynicism towards it, because it's like most people who would watch it like yourself would know what they're in for, but still find it entertaining as well. So
yeah, it's an interesting concept.
Strange, doesn't it? Because if they've got enough viewership for something like that, surely they could just use the budget in better ways, in sort of production, like camera work or locations and stuff like that as well, rather than that element.
Yeah, and I think as well, it's like it's gone to the point where if you have like on one of the Facebook fan sites and everyone's just slating it, you might as well just call Konami and Pro Evo patches just come out, because the amount of comments underneath. And I had to bring you back to Pro Evo.
It's always a good sort of topic in order to relate it to anything else, really.
But it's like that. The people are like, why have you changed the age groups? We don't want these young idiots on. We want a wide range of age groups like it used to. Why have you changed a winning formula? And that's what it's like. So that's sort of there. The only other thing I've been watching is... I talked about this before, a couple of things on Netflix. I've mentioned them briefly. Yeah. There's a couple of documentaries. I mentioned a couple about that. That I told you about, that Icarus, about the Russian drugs thing.
Yeah.
You've got to watch that. Well, watch the Lance Armstrong one. I've mentioned it before about him. Yeah. And then watch the Icarus one. You'll understand the whole thing. But there's one called a guy called Rich Froning on and it's spelled Froning on Netflix. And he was he was a CrossFit champion for 3 years running. Now, don't get me wrong, there's no way these guys and girls are all passing drugs tests. But if you take it for what it is and what's for the sheer dedication and sort of determination that these guys and girls do. And these films off that called The Fittest on Earth on Netflix. They're just a great, because I watched the CrossFit Games as well, and it's like, it's the most bizarre sport. It's just basically bodybuilding and weightlifting. Well, weightlifting, not bodybuilding. And it's like, they're doing just stupid things. Like they'll have to do a handstand across a football pitch and they, without touching the floor. So they're just doing like a walking handstand for say 60 meters or 100 meters or something. And then straight into 50 pull-ups or whatever. And it rises like, I love documentaries, you see. So it's like the rise is, his rise from nothing to this, and it follows his family and what he is. And then these Fittest on Earth, there's a couple of them about the CrossFit Games. Like there's one 2007 CrossFit Games when it first come out, and you can see it's on a farm, and that's when it started, on a farm in like a field with bales of hay and stuff, to where now the CrossFit Games is all done at like these college football stadiums or American football stadiums. So they're my recommendations if anyone gets a chance on Netflix.
Mate,
and
it makes my Tuesday night boxing club seem like a dream after trying to do a handstand for 100 yards anyway. Jesus Christ.
Mate, unbelievable.
Good.
So
that sounds good. It's good.
Yeah, watch it. See, I mean, Icarus, I'd definitely recommend, but watch the Lance Armstrong one first, because you realise what a conniving, horrible man Lance Armstrong was or is.
You didn't think that already?
Yeah, already, exactly. But watch that one and then watch it. But it's over to you now, mate. I've done my reality trash.
So, one thing that I have actually watched from beginning to end that I didn't think I would actually get drawn into. I mean, I'm still not going to say it's probably one of the best things that I've seen, but it's definitely really intriguing. Maybe in terms of how you can see the landscape of TV going from film. I know that we've had this big shift recently with a lot of the sort of big American actors coming on to short-term projects in terms of like miniseries and stuff like that. But this is actually a British independent miniseries, which very much feels like a stretched out indie film called End of the Effing World, which is basically like I don't know, you would probably categorize it as like a dark comedy drama, which is centered around two kids, of which they're kind of at that age. So they're like 17 years old, and they're at that sort of age where they're at college, and they can't project the real selves onto anyone else. So they're just constantly trying to be cool with each other. But then you get their inner thoughts being like, oh God, I hope he likes me. Oh Jesus. And then the girl's like, oh, fuck it. I don't care what you think. Fuck you. See you later. So it's a really good contrast between that. So it's centered around the two kids, one of which is a psychopath and actually thinks that he's got the capability of killing somebody. And the other girl is coming from, is Jessica Barden, who plays the character called Alicia in it, who is coming from a really sort of broken family background, and he's trying to latch on to the main character. He is Alex Lawthorne. He was in one of the episodes of Black Mirror recently, not in the most recent season, but one of the previous seasons. Yeah. Probably one of the most disturbing episodes of Black Mirror I've ever seen. But he's brilliant as like this kind of really sort of jilted psychopath as well. And he takes their kind of they try and sort of get away from all of the sort of contraptions that are taking up the life as well. I mean, it kind of, if you were to sort of take it to its end, and it's only 20-minute episodes and they're 8 episodes, so like I say, it really feels like a stretched out indie film as well. There's a beautiful scene at the start, and this isn't spoiling anything as well, but it probably shows the kind of day that we're living in as well, is that all of her friends are sat around the table and she gets a notification on her phone. And then she realizes that it's a mate, and she's texted her and she's literally sat across the table from her, and she just lifts up the phone and says, "Is this you?" And she says, "What?" And she says, "I'm right fucking here." And she says, "Well, it's free." So she just smashes her phone on the floor and walks off. And that's when she ends up meeting up with the main guy as well. So that sets the tone beautifully. So I think at that point I was like, even if I don't really like all of the dialogue and stuff like that, I'm kind of bought in from that as well. It's a great soundtrack. To be honest, the cinematography for the budget that they have, and this is obviously with the help of Netflix as well, it's really good. It was, it's on there now as well. So like I say, eight mini episodes, definitely worth your time. So that I've watched from start to end. I would like to say I didn't watch that in one sitting, mate, but I'd be a liar otherwise. So
I'll run with that.
So, and then the other thing that we're slowly getting through, because we want to kind of take it in is Godless, which is another limited season on Netflix, which is by Scott Frank, who helped write Logan, which is a wonderful sort of indie superhero film, which you've seen as well, I guess. I think.
Oh yes, love it.
Like in the dearth of everything that is sort of superhero, that is one of the ones that really stands out as well. Sorry, I'm going to have to blow my nose momentarily as well. Oh dear, excuse me for having a cold. Terrible. But Godless is a really sort of well-conceived miniseries, which is set in the Old West. Yeah, and it's actually sort of centered around two main characters, of which one of these sort of guys who's like heavily religious and is trying to almost create a cult with all of his sort of Western followers, has a guy under his wing who is like an incredible shooter, shows young prospect, but he obviously realizes the darkness of which he's getting into with the group, and manages to escape. So the pilot itself kind of sets up the premise beautifully, so I won't necessarily go into it that much. One of my favourite young actors at the moment, who's been in some really good films like Starred Up and 73, which is Jack O'Connell. He was in he wasn't in Shameless. What was the other one as well? Skins. He was in.
Oh yeah,
yeah. He's a really, really good actor. He kind of felt like he'd gone on a bit of a hiatus, but Angelina Jolie had directed him in a film. I can't remember what it was called. Actually, he's a really, really good actor. So he plays one of the main guys in this as well. Michelle Dockery, who I think is from Downton Abbey as well. It's got a really good cast list, and again, I think it's only like 6 or 8 episodes. But it's really good. You know, I understand for people that wouldn't necessarily like the Westerns as well, but for anyone who does, I mean, the thing I always look back to is Deadwood. I mean, for me, that's one of the best series I've ever seen. I know it's unfinished, but it was beautiful. So, Godless is definitely worth everyone else's time. I am, at some point, and going to be able to, I know I've been posting quite a lot at the moment, and I know my wife was desperate to watch it tonight, but we'll probably watch it either tomorrow or Saturday, and we'll probably start trying to get into Altered Carbon.
Oh yes, yeah,
which is the new sci-fi series on Netflix as well. So hopefully I'll have something else to say at the moment. But in terms of TV, that's kind of where I am at the moment.
Yeah, nothing. I mean, I'm nothing to add to that. But I'm happy to move on to the films, mate.
Yeah, and for me, like the one main film, I've got one main film that I've watched at the moment. But what about yourself? What have you watched recently?
I don't think there's anything really I've watched. I'm really looking forward to one of the. We're in a work with. She's a massive film buff. She does like that pass to 17.99 with Odeon. You know, you go as many times as you want, and she does go every week. And she said, just dropped in conversation today, funny enough, that she went with her husband to watch Black Panther, and she said it's as good, if not better, than Winter Soldier. And she high regards that as the best action or Marvel film she's seen. I'm really looking forward to seeing that, to be honest. Really,
do you think you would invest the money in actually going to watch it at the pictures rather than waiting for it to come out on Blu-ray?
I would, but I'd probably be sat on my own because Sam and Jordan's just coming down now. We'll not go and watch him anymore, mate. I've took him to James Bond, Marvel, Superman, all the DC stuff, everything. Just get no change out of him now. The only one we went, what did we see? The last film we saw, I can't think. Oh, Star Wars. I took Sam at Christmas.
That's fine, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. It was my second viewing because obviously I went to midnight launch with my mates and stuff. But then, that one we've not been since. And Jordan and that will not go to watch any of the superhero stuff anymore. So I'm sort of stuck on my own. I'm either that weird guy in the corner with popcorn, or I'll wait for it to come on anywhere I can find it, if you know what I mean.
I can't understand. I mean, he's winking. I don't know.
No, it's a twitch. It's a twitch.
You should probably get that looked at, mate. Yeah. I think I can understand with the sort of oversaturation of superhero films, but that it's almost like we were talking recently about the Thor Ragnarok, which I still haven't got around to. I really can't wait to see that.
film.
I just didn't realise it was the guy who directed Hunt for the Wilder People, and that's another good shout on Netflix, actually.
Yeah.
The same director as well. He directed an Australian film with Sam Neill as well. That Hunt for the Wilder People is so funny. It's really good. And it's got that same level of humour as well. I think this is the sort of thing that you need to do to pitch it above like the incredible saturation that you have with all the superhero films at the moment. And I feel like with the reviews that I've seen recently with Black Panther, it's exactly the same as well.
Yeah, I think you will enjoy Thor, as you mentioned before, with Logan. So you've got what I found with these sort of origin films or sort of splinter films off is you've got the Avengers stuff and it's there. Or you've got that. That's the Avengers, and that's like the sort of it's like the tongue-in-cheek sort of superhero stuff. And you've got Logan, which was obviously I know it's X-Men. They're not in the same sort of universe as such, but you've got the X-Men, which has not been an X-Men film for about a year or so, one before this come out, and then Logan comes out, and it's like a film noir because there's a black and white version available to watch, which I've not seen yet. Sort of filmed. Yeah, there's another version of it. I think you'll be able to get it from certain places, but
that Twitch again.
Yeah, that weird Twitch I've got. But yeah, there is a black and white version of it. So that, especially the tone of the film, it'd be quite interesting to watch it. But so say you've got the bubble of the mainstream superhero films. Even Justice League comes under that and everything.
Absolutely.
And then you've got Logan to the left, which is very. But then you've got Thor Ragnarok, which really. The colouring and the sort of it's hard to describe because it's a totally different film, but the sort of weirdness and the colour. I mean, the jokes in that were great, and it's so funny
and everything.
So good. Yeah. Oh, honestly, you for you yourself, you'll fully enjoy it. But it was a bit like, and it's a totally different film. This, and I can't.
No. Yeah.
But you like 12 Monkeys, where you've got that with Bruce Willis, where it's like this weird alien characters are all over the place, like a Total Recall in some respects. On a different level, and then all of a sudden you'll have all these weird people, and then all of a sudden you've got like a human there. Like Jeff Goldblum's really good in it. He's just stupid. He's like the character he used to play in the Heineken advert. Is it Heineken? Heineken there.
Oh, you've done well, Heineken. Thanks for the shameless plug as well. I am actually I'm not drinking Heineken itself, but I am drinking one of the beers that they own, which is a Lagunitas Daytime IPA. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Yeah, good work. I'm sure it's Heineken, but he's that sort of smarmy, droll, speaks dead slow, but he's like a I won't say what he is, but he plays a good part in it. So it's and everyone does, and like there's all little nods to like Iron Man and stuff like that. But it's a brilliant film. You won't be disappointed.
I can't wait. I mean, I'll hopefully. Like, so we've got a bit of free time this weekend, so fingers crossed we might be able to catch up on a few things like that as well.
Yeah. Go. What else have you got? Anything you've been watching?
For anyone who has seen Martin McDonagh's In Bruges before as well, and hasn't actually had the pleasure of seeing 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri yet. If this doesn't win a handful of Oscars, I'd be very, very surprised. For anyone that knows In Bruges, the way that they sort of pitch both their characters and the humour is almost very rare, or it's an incredible talent for a writer to be able to actually get across the full breadth of a character within 90 minutes or 2 hours. I don't really know how you do that, because my sort of greatest example, comedy aside, would be going back to something like The Wire, or how David Simon writes his characters, where he can pitch them in the middle, and it's up to you to decide whether they're good or bad, or they actually have both of those elements as well.
Yeah.
And Martin McDonagh's able to do this in both In Bruges and in 3 Billboards as well. So it's centered around a really tragic occurrence that happens within a family that kind of fractures them. And then it's the main character, who's played by Frances McDormand, her relationship with the police, of which she knows personally, and her pursuit in order to find justice around this event as well. How how he, like I say, how he's able to get you to sort of necessarily not be on the fence, but to switch the way that you actually feel about a character or the way that you would feel about a particular scene. So you would have some scenes that you would have seen a million times in a film as well. And then all of a sudden, and it was one of my friends who actually related to something like this as well. It has almost like that natural element where you would expect it to happen in a film, and then all of a sudden it's just switched back in a way where it comes to a conclusion that you didn't necessarily see. I've never known the C word be used in such a sort of a beautiful, intricate way in the way that it is in this film as well, where it's almost quite artful in the way that they use it. Both me, my wife, my sister, and her boyfriend had watched it and just loved it from start to finish. It has this really good sort of natural way of being both heartbreaking and hilarious within seconds of each other. So at one point you can feel yourself filling up, and then the next thing you're wetting yourself laughing. It's an incredible cast, obviously. Yeah. Sam Rockwell for me is not in enough films. I mean, he obviously chooses his films very well, and he waits because he went through that kind of like sort of period where he was probably in quite a lot of films and was diluted quite a bit. But in this, he's just wonderful. He's so good. He just plays an idiot cop in it, but there's something about him that you still relate to as well. Obviously Woody Harrelson as well, and Peter Dinklage, who was in.
Peter Dinklage is good, very underrated actor, to be honest. I like Peter Dinklage.
Really good. He was obviously in Bruges as well, so he's worked with Martin McDonagh before as well. But yeah, he's a really, really good writer. I think that's the one abiding element that I'll say is that even you can understand where Frances McDormand's character coming from and the frustration that she feels with all the injustice as well. But you still don't really like some of the things that you do as well, because it's very human. You could see yourself doing all of those things as well. It's a really, really good film as well. There are obviously quite a few Oscar films that I want to see coming out, but I'm very glad that I've been able to see that one.
No, that's good stuff. I'm definitely going to watch that, because I know we've been advertising it at work as well. So I've seen all the posters and everything. And we've spoken about this before anyway, briefly. So I'm definitely going to get on it, definitely. And I mean that hopefully by the time we do the next podcast, I'll have watched a couple of these films, because
fingers crossed.
Yeah, I need to expand my knowledge on the films and stuff. So
I'm more than happy to share some of those with you once we've come off here as well, and I'll start sending some of them to you.
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah, that's what I mean. Just send us the list. That'd be great. Absolutely great. Is there anything else you wanted to chat about, mate, with the films or anything?
I think that is beautiful. That's a nice way to wrap it up as well. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. I think one of the good things about as the podcast, it's like the variation of what we're doing. And when you come on, I love the fact that we can just sit here and just talk about the TV and the films and just sort of our own interests and that. And I appreciate you coming on. And obviously, in fact, give a big shout out, mate, to all you what's your Twitter handle and everything, because I never do it.
At Pixel Hunter __, because some bugger has actually just got at Pixel Hunter as well, and it'll be the same on Instagram and YouTube, and then hopefully within the next few days as well, me and my friend who have actually now got our head around playing Monster Hunter. So for any of those that are actually playing it at the moment, probably won't be a case of us telling you what to do. It'll be a case of other people coming on saying, "No, dickhead, you don't play like that." So it's all Pixel Hunter right across it. And obviously look out for tomorrow. I know that I was very delayed in my album of the week, but it was a cracker by Go Go Penguin, a really nice sort of classical breakbeat album. I'll be posting another one tomorrow as well. So if anyone has any suggestions for that, please drop them my way, and I'll be listening on New Music Release Friday and then posting what I think is the best album of the week.
Yeah, good stuff, because I always pay attention. I'm always going onto iTunes and looking for the stuff that you put up. So you are a very, very good source of knowledge there, because my musical knowledge of newer stuff is pretty poor now. When I was in a band, I was right up to date, but because I don't have that sort of connection to music anymore like I used to. And obviously we were a covers band, so we only went where the sort of generic sort of foot tapping stuff was. But I did know my stuff, that I know NMEs usually used to be the fountain of knowledge for all sort of up and coming bands and that. But
I just Piccadilly Records, mate. I think whether it's just my taste or anything like that, but I think if anyone is struggling to sort of get back onto new music, the best thing about their website is that they'll have all of the staff picks for the most recent albums, and then every album has like a 30-second exit of the song within the website. So you get a flavour of the music already, and then they obviously have a little review of it as well, so it works really well.
Oh, we'll get on to that then. But yeah, if everyone can give Andrew a follow and that who's been watching, or anyone who's sort of watching it over the weekend. Obviously, Andrew's part of the podcast anyway. He's the Contextual alumni now, without a doubt. And I appreciate him coming on. And
the same with you as well. I mean, I know that everyone can see online the amount of work that you're actually putting in, and I hope that you're feeling the reciprocation of all of these podcasts and the reviews and stuff that you're putting together as well. I think from my perspective, it's definitely coming to fruition. So thanks very much for having me on again. Oh,
don't be daft, mate. It's great. We'll definitely do it again. And obviously, one shout out before I go is Pez Story Mode. Is he your friend?
Yeah, he is.
On Twitter.
Yeah.
Yes. He came up with that suggestion where I actually put sort of the retro stuff together. Now, I haven't done it with us tonight. I'll do it next time because when I had Dave on, I had a little section there where I did like a retro game and asked 4 or 5 questions. And obviously, with you being on, we're going to have to do this next time, and I'll put them together. And it's just like the retro section. But he suggested maybe having a weekly segment. So it is something going forward that I am going to do and make sure that we shoehorn that in. Obviously, there's no point if you come on nearly every week now. So there's no point me asking you the same questions every week. So we'll do it for the next time. Yep. But like going forward, it's his suggestion to put something in quite regular. I had like a retro.
I definitely think even that, but even sort of in a bigger scale, like community questions around games and films and TV and music I think that's a good shout.
I think, and what we'll do is we'll get that out on Twitter, especially before you come on, because your knowledge of TV, films, and music is far superior to mine. So if people can ask the questions, at least we can try and answer them sort of on the podcast, and then it sort of.
I mean, for me, it's always a case of, and I know that music's a lot more subjective, or I feel that music's a lot more subjective in terms of taste, but I'm not one for sitting here like everyone else and slagging off something that somebody's actually put some hard work into. I know that we've probably done that with Pez, but I mean, in terms of TV and films and stuff, or games, I think I'm in the position now, just because we've spent so long being frustrated with something like Pez, I just want to be able to give stuff back to people that they're going to enjoy. So exactly the same with music. I don't want to spend my time sort of critiquing something. I just want to promote something that someone has actually put the heart and soul into, and that I've got out of as well.
No, I respect that, and I agree, and I think I'm in the same boat now, especially as this is sort of week by week, things are changing, and the fan base is growing, and the sort of support's there for both of us. So it's only right you do something like that. But all I'd say, I said this last time, if anyone wants to go out there and give us a review on iTunes or SoundCloud, anything sort of, any review gets us spotted on there, which will help obviously the podcast growing up for the quality of the podcast as well. Get on there, give Andrew as much support as possible on YouTube, and as he said, on at Pixel Hunter _ and on YouTube, and also my streaming channel is up now on Mixer, which is not the Contextual Podcast, it's at Contextual Podcast or Contextual Podcast. It will come up with the logo, and then on Twitch it's the same, or the Contextual Podcast on Twitch, but it's the same thing. You'll find me, but you mainly find me on Mix. And as me and Andrew have said in the podcast, I think one of the things I will be doing the next couple of weeks is the live sort of streaming podcast, get the topics together and just see if it makes sense and the sort of qualities there on some of the other episodes, and obviously like this one tonight where it's a bit more structured. So I'm not really a frustrated gamer. I'm not the sort of person who wants to throw my control pad through the screen, so that's never going to be an issue.
Just join the discussion.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll try it as a new concept, and even for both of us, we could do a live one on the PS4 and do it from there, through one of our channels, and see if that gets a different audience watching and listening and stuff. So so thanks very much, Andrew.
Welcome.
And we'll see you again in the next week or so, without a doubt. And thanks everyone for listening. This has been episode 33 of the Contextual Podcast. I've been Chris. See ya.
See ya.